Now on the Pro Wrestling Report, TNA releases more stars and staff. Is the company in trouble? WWE Money in the Bank is in the record books, and the winners may shock you. Who will be this week's Diamond of the Ring? The Ultimate Warrior returns to WWE, and David Hero debuts a new opinion segment. All that and more right now on My 24 Milwaukee. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, PrimeTime Saturday night, right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius Tiberius.
Stop. I am now just the Reverend, the Hall of Fame Reverend. You know, this past week I took an online class, got my marriage ministry certificate. I can do it all now.
Wait a minute. You?
DHHS is more than just the spoken word. I can create...
It's a myth, is what it is.
I can create unions now.
And that, my friend, is a shame. Let's get right down to it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to a quick pay-per-view report. WWE Money in the Bank was last Sunday night on pay-per-view, and the winners may surprise you. As you know, there were two Money in the Bank ladder matchups, along with a WWE and World Heavyweight Championship matchup. First, the World Heavyweight Championship matchup, Dolph Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio. Del Rio retains after AJ costs Ziggler the title. And David Hero, you had predicted, or at least said, that if you were booking it, Ziggler would have won that match.
Because Dolph Ziggler is just on fire. The fans are behind him. He has a ton of momentum. But once again, Damian Nelson, what is always behind the downfall of every successful man?
You having married them.
And AJ, I never married a man. Are you kidding me? AJ.
You said you could perform unions.
Well, yeah. Oh, that way, yeah. AJ Lee cost Dolphy Z the World Heavyweight Championship. And I did not see that coming.
Mark Henry taps out. I repeat, taps out to John Cena. I, for one, would have preferred this match end any other way than the monster Henry tapping out.
Oh, but it makes perfect sense. It makes all the sense in the world. You got John Cena beating the larger-than-life G.I. Joe, The Rock. Then he defeats Ryback. Now he makes Mark Henry tap out to take on his biggest, most fiercest, baddest opponent ever at SummerSlam, Daniel Bryan.
In a match where Rob Van Dam returned to WWE, Randy Orton is Mr. Money in the Bank on the Raw side of things, but on the SmackDown side of things, David Hero, a surprise winner for sure. As the standout in that matchup was arguably, and don't argue with it, Cody Rhodes. It was Damian Sandow who climbed that ladder and got the briefcase.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, Damian Sandow wasn't a top 2 pick, wasn't a top 3 pick because of the way he's been used lately. I mean, I thought Wade Barrett for sure. Even Swagger, I thought, had a better chance than Damian Sandow. But hey, the smartest man in the WWE, Damian Sandow, leaves with the Money in the Bank briefcase.
That was Money in the Bank this past Sunday night on pay-per-view. An overall solid show from WWE, one that had great pacing, and coming out of it, we're talking about a lot of things that happened, including CM Punk being turned on by Paul Heyman. As we go to that, let's go into this week's WWE Raw Report. And David Hero, there was one standout segment on that show this past Monday night, and that was the absolutely fantastically, tremendously spectacular segment between CM Punk and Paul Heyman. David Hero, you've many times mentioned being talked into a building. Those two men talked everyone into the Staples Center for SummerSlam, and also
don't get ahead of yourself.
Onto Raw for
if
the next few
anything,
weeks.
they talked themselves what I thought would be a match between Paul Heyman and CM Punk.
Really?
And then the Incredible Hulk walked out and grabbed Loki and threw him all over the arena.
He threw him around like a rag doll, and I will say initially, to this point, beyond the promo, looking at that, I was like, it looks like some type of fan has jumped in and is trying to attack.
Let's be honest. You called me during that,
Lesnar.
and you're like, oh my God, some fan just jumped. Like, no, that's Punk.
So, Is this not the perfect wrestling story of David versus Goliath, of the underdog, the man who should not win, that man being CM Punk,
How is
going
CM
up
Punk
against
the best
Brock
in the
Lesnar?
world with the longest reign and underdog?
You saw them physically compared to each other. He is an underdog for the monster, the beast that is Brock Lesnar.
But according to you and everybody out there, size doesn't matter.
Size matters.
Look at
in a
Bret
relative
Hart.
sense.
Look at Shawn Michaels.
It matters
Look
in a relative
at Eddie
sense.
Guerrero.
If it were Shawn Michaels and Brock Lesnar, I'd be saying the same thing.
Oh, Shawn Michaels could beat Brock Lesnar.
CM Punk is the underdog, no doubt about it.
No, he's not, because of the match they're going to have.
The match you think they're going to have.
It's going to be a gimmick match. There's no way it's going to be a regular match. You have to even the playing field. You have to give Punk an advantage. And if it's a last man standing or a no holds barred fight, well, now it's different. But if it's a regular one-on-one Brock versus Punk, I just don't see that happening.
It was one-on-one Punk versus Taker at WrestleMania, which was referenced by Paul Heyman and Punk this past Monday night.
Whoa.
There was no gimmick in that match.
Brock Taker?
Punk Taker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was one-on-one. Same situation, pretty much. Punk shouldn't have won that match. Didn't win.
And
that
he didn't
match.
win that match. But it's the streak, which is bigger than WrestleMania, which is bigger than Brock Lesnar.
Today it is. Next week, I'm sure your opinion will be different.
No,
Brock
my
Lesnar
opinion
back.
is consistent.
He's going to be back again on August 5th when WWE Raw comes to Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Brock Lesnar's going to be in Green Bay?
Brock Lesnar will be in Green Bay, Wisconsin as part of Monday Night Raw on August 5th when it comes to the Resch Center. And I, for one, am excited about this upcoming matchup between those
August
two, CM Punk
5th
and Brock Lesnar.
Green Bay. Okay.
That's up north.
Yeah, I know.
Brad Maddox.
It
was his first night as general manager on Monday Night Raw.
What a great job.
And you know what?
Something dropped. He had a ton of bass in his voice.
Something dropped. Was it the microphone?
It could have been.
The audio level?
Yeah. The trebles dropped.
He had a great showing this past Monday night.
He started off good.
Made that tremendous matchup, RVD versus Chris Jericho, which was fantastic for many reasons. Here it is.
No. Do you think when Rob Van Dam was standing on the top rope ready to get the frog splash?
Five-star frog splash.
Yeah, to Chris Jericho, do you think he's looking at that sold-out building and saying, we haven't had this many people in 4 years and all the shows combined in TNA, they're all in one building right now?
John Cena picks Daniel Bryan as his opponent
You
for
didn't answer my
SummerSlam.
question.
You, David Hero, did not like how this played out.
No, I didn't, because when John Cena picks his opponent, he buried the rest of the roster by saying, "No, I don't want you. I'll take that guy. You're better than everybody else." You know what's going to be interesting about this match? Because you know it's a big play on the whole Divas reality TV show on E, which starts on the 28th or end of the month.
Oh, well.
Because
that is actually quite funny.
think about it. You have Daniel Bryan Danielson dating Brie Bella, and then John Cena dating Nikki Bella. How do they explain to the fans that the ever-loving Make-A-Wish John Cena dates one of the evil Bella twins?
A couple of quick hits from WWE Raw this
Do you ever
past Monday
think they
night.
get them confused?
Vicky Guerrero channels Bobby the Braid Heenan. Marisha was walking around with the sandwich board, the megaphone, tried to get into the building. Great stuff there. Triple H wishes Brad Maddox good luck in his future endeavors, which I thought was a fun play on words. Damian Sandow gets beat, but owns on the microphone immediately thereafter, which led in the newest major superstar that all of you now see, that I've seen for years.
And a member of Team Super Friends,
Cody
by the way.
Rhodes attacking Sandow. We'd see that continue on SmackDown. We'll talk about that in a minute. Mark Henry gets attacked by the Shield.
I love that.
It was good.
That was fantastic.
Henry didn't just get beat up. He leveled an offense against the Shield for quite some time. That was this past Monday's WWE Raw, ladies and gentlemen. Next, though, on the Pro Wrestling Report, the TNA firings continue. We take a look at the real reason for the departures. Who are the top 3 stars on wrestling TV this week? Find out in the all-new 3-Count segment. And David Hero has a lot to say about the Raw Money in the Bank winner, Randy Orton, in DHHS. When we come back, right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. Primetime Saturday night right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside that one.
The Reverend.
And it's time now to go to this week's WWE Smackdown Report.
You know what? Does that now mean that what I say is gospel?
A brand new general manager is named for SmackDown this past Friday night, just last night actually. On the heels of the return of Booker T to SmackDown television, Vince McMahon announces that Vicky Guerrero is once again the general manager of Friday Night SmackDown. Please tell the world why you don't like this, David Hero.
Because it's just like Major League Baseball or the NFL or basketball. They recycle coaches, they recycle general managers. Why SmackDown? Wasn't Teddy Long and Booker T doing a good enough job?
Teddy Long removed from the building per Vicky's order last night on SmackDown.
Amazing.
Think of the interaction, though, between the three of them. Booker T, Vicky Guerrero, and Teddy Long. Gold.
It's interesting.
Does Teddy Long have pictures, or does he know where the plot is?
Whose plot?
That's the question.
The plot or plot? It's a big difference. Or maybe he has the keys to the kingdom. I don't know.
Coming off the heels of their attack on him this past Monday night, the Shield suffers an attack from Mark Henry. And some are saying that this is an apparent change in character for Mark Henry.
Well, you think? I mean, come on. He was a bad guy 2 weeks ago. Now he's beating up bad guys.
Curtis Axel, the Intercontinental Champion, defeats Chris Jericho in what was Jericho's final match with WWE, at least for the time being. We'll talk about that in hot news.
When was the last time Chris Jericho won a match?
Ryback takes
Fandango,
out
right?
Jericho after Cody Rhodes attacks Damian Sandow again. Now, here's the thing about Chris Jericho. Is there anyone who deserves more credit in WWE than Chris Jericho because of the fact you just mentioned? When was the last time he won a match?
He beat Fandango.
He
that
came
was it.
in and he did what you like to call business.
He did. He's putting people over. But has he elevated
and time.
anybody?
Arguably, Fandango, even though he lost to him.
Yes.
The match with RVD brought RVD and reintroduced RVD to the WWE fan base this past Monday night.
Yes. And we talk about that for a minute?
We could have been Raw. You want to go back to
well,
it?
you didn't give me time.
We got a lot of segments here.
That was a fantastic match with RVD and Jericho. No, I don't hate him. I don't understand all the flips.
Dislike him.
No, I just don't know. What his purpose is.
But the elbow drop.
Chris Jericho was the only guy in the roster that could have that match with Rob Van Dam, because they're both from those kids they got today, and I'm calling them kids because they are. They're not. They're not seasoned. They're not territories. This is fun. But Chris Jericho and Rob Van Dam, I have no idea. You sitting on a duck?
The Linda shenanigans, I think. Anyways.
Build in 2 minutes for that nonsense.
Big Show is announced to be returning on Monday night to WWE in-ring action.
But who does he chase? Who does Big Show chase?
That's a good question. Randy Orton gets a win over your boy, Alberto Del Rio.
If I'm Big Show, I'm saying, hey, John Cena, why don't you pick me?
And perhaps that's what he will do this upcoming Monday night.
That's what I'd do.
Where was Dolph Ziggler?
He got beat up by a girl. What's he going to do?
That's this week's WWE Smackdown Report, ladies and gentlemen. And it is now time for all of this week's hot news. It's everything that happened in the week, all the headlines you need in around 60 seconds or less. And for those of you scoring at home, I would rather you didn't. PWInsider.com is reporting that Chris Jericho has finished up his current run with WWE. Jericho posted an update on Twitter Tuesday night saying, and I quote, "So long to WWE for now. 2013 was one of my favorite in-ring years ever.
He made
Thanks
big money.
For always sticking with Y2J and see you on the road soon with Fozzy." WWE.com is reporting that Randy Orton was injured during this week's SmackDown in a match with Alberto Del Rio.
You know what happens when Orton gets hurt? He gets people fired.
Orton took to Twitter to dispute the claim, saying, and I quote, "Hey, remember when I said I don't listen to the net? I'm fine. Del Rio's kicks are hard as hell, and I caught one to the neck. Part of the job." WWE has also announced that the Ultimate Warrior will be a part of WWE 2K14 as a playable character, that being WWE's video game.
As opposed to an unplayable character.
In a video posted on their site, the Warrior said he is always humbled that the Warrior still excites people. This is the first time Warrior and WWE have had a favorable business relationship since 1996. That's it for this week's Hot news. Now, David Hero, it's time to go into this week's Impact Wrestling Report. And this past Thursday night on Impact, it was Destination X.
It
Not
was.
on pay-per-view, but on Impact. Smart move for TNA to use these known brands, I think, to drive viewership for Impact. We'll have much more later on TNA in this week's In-Depth segment. But in the meantime, you can find out all the whole goings-ons and what happened at Destination X by checking out PWR
Shocking
Live.
results at Destination X.
Checking out PWR
I did not see
Live
that coming at all, by
on
the way.
our YouTube channel. And
Well,
that
you
was
weren't surprised?
Ed and Matthew.
I
I'm always
was
surprised.
blown away. I can't believe they went in that direction.
That available on our YouTube channel, where you see on the screen right there.
My 24th.
Wait a minute, where's Linda? Oh, she's on vacation.
Whoa,
We gave her the week off.
Hold on a second. She's on suspension.
What?
All the nonstop shenanigans.
Only I could suspend people around.
Hey, the snowman cometh. Deserved it.
Let's go to this week's Ring of Honor report, ladies and gentlemen. And David Hero, last
Yes.
Friday night, Ring of Honor was here in Milwaukee at Turner Hall. I had the pleasure of being the
I
ring
know.
announcer
We already
for that
talked
event.
about you ring announcing again. 2 weeks you want to get
It was the
yourself
highlight
over?
of my career.
No.
one
The
of the highlights
highlight.
of my career.
Kevin
Absolutely it
Thorne
was.
hanging you from your skivvies was the highlight
How
of your
about
career.
that live event experience, Ring of Honor, a hot crowd, 100 strong, a match that I will always
100
remember.
strong? Or
Kyle
hundreds?
O'Reilly versus Eddie Edwards. This match stopped by the referee
Do you know what?
because of Edwards stomping the head of Kyle O'Reilly.
It reminds me of that Frank Sinatra song, Ain't That a Kick to the Head? That's exactly what
Dean
happened. It's the same Rat Pack.
Don't you ever, and I mean ever,
Well, wait,
say
Frank Sinatra.
that
I saw
these
Frank Sinatra
iconic
sing it.
Superstars.
He never sang that song?
I'm sure he did.
Okay.
Ring of Honor.
Technicality.
O'Reilly.
Yes.
Edwards.
Kicks.
Turner Hall. Last Friday.
Lots of kicks. You know what? They need to be worried about concussions in that company.
You know, I got to say this though.
They'll be called Ring of Alzheimer's pretty soon.
From a live event perspective, the energy, the excitement, the work rate of the people involved should not go without mention. They busted their tail.
They did.
Kevin Steen, Davey Richards.
There were times I'm sitting there.
Cheeseburger.
There were times I'm sitting there. I'm like, don't they realize that's a work? But they still go out there and kill each other.
Everybody at Ring of Honor was absolutely tremendous. I want to thank
Yes.
them from the backstage area, especially Kevin Kelly as well, who was
You know what was cool is they
very,
took time
very-
with you
They did.
and they smartened you up a little bit.
They did, absolutely. Are you calling me dumb?
No, I'm just saying that you got smarter.
Absolutely. And Ring of Honor will be returning to the Milwaukee area come early next year. And stay tuned here to
TV
Pro
taping.
Wrestling Report for all the details on that as it becomes available. And with that, David Hero, I'd like to go ahead and give you the opportunity to share with us this week's Diamond of the Ring.
This week's Robert Hack Diamond of the Ring, I got two of them. It was Rob Van Dam and Y2J Chris Jericho. Those two guys put on a clinic. It was a fantastic match. They showed how to tell a story. They
So
took
the
their
match
time.
is Diamond of the Ring.
Well, the two guys involved were the Diamond of the Ring. So can I now close the segment?
Yeah, you can finish
So
later. Go ahead.
this week's Robert Hack Diamonds of the Ring, the place where they pay cash for gold. Y2J Chris Jericho and RVD Rob Van Dam.
Not bad.
I'll give credit where credit is due. Those guys were the best part of Raw.
Speaking of credit where credit's due, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a quick look at the scoring in the Pro Wrestling Report draft after this past Sunday's Money in the Bank,
Cheat,
where I
cheat,
had both Money in
cheat.
the Bank match winners.
The Nelson family's Randy Orton was the winner of the Raw Championship Money in the Bank briefcase by getting over on a heavily hyped returning Rob Van Dam on Sunday night. RVD has been reintroduced to the Raw audience with the heavy play of videos leading up to the event. So when Orton beat him for the briefcase, it meant so much more. Hopefully the creative will continue with this forward momentum for Orton, who's been really stuck in neutral since early last year after his second wellness policy violation. With a renewed push and obvious confidence from the front office, Randy Orton, the Viper, is exactly what the fans need. A dominating guy that women think is hot and guys want to be. Someone the fans finally to cheer for. Let him RKO his way all the way through his opposition, straight to the championship. At least that's what I would do if I was the guy with the pencil. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
Next on the Pro Wrestling Report, I count down the top stars that we saw on TV this week in the 3 count. And why is TNA firing so many people? We have details on that.
Here's the ship's taking on water.
Here on My 24 Milwaukee. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night, right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside
the Reverend.
You want to start using Devon's old Reverend music?
No.
Trying to take some of Dr. Styles' business?
I got my own music.
Well, time for a new segment here on the Pro Wrestling Report. It's called the 3 count, where we take a look at the most valuable player from each of the broadcasts this week from WWE and Impact Wrestling. Let's start with WWE Raw, where by and far that needs to be given to CM Punk. CM Punk did a tremendous spirit that cannot be broken.
I'm going to call him Ping Pong Punk from now on.
Attack on Brock Lesnar.
His attack on Brock Lesnar.
MVP of Raw this past Monday night. On SmackDown, the MVP goes to the new general manager, Vicky Guerrero. I always love Vicky in that role. People hate Vicky. She is a heat machine. She is a heat magnet. You know how that goes.
Oh, I am done.
And
this is your segment?
The
this sucks.
MVP of SmackDown. Over on Impact Wrestling, you got to give it to the man who challenged Bully Ray for the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. That in Chris Sabin, the former X Division champion.
Yes. I was very proud of Chris Sabin.
Really?
He did a fantastic job.
Might be the first time I've ever heard you give praise to Chris Sabin here on this broadcast.
Hey, he is world championship material.
That is this week's 3 count. Well, David Hero, with that, it is now time to go in depth. And, well,
we don't have time for this could take up the whole show.
it's probably best that it doesn't because of the things I fear you may say in the upcoming segment.
The Coast Guard is flying to Nashville.
Let's set it up, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you have seen the reports in recent weeks of TNA Wrestling, the releases that they've been conducting. Just to bring you up to speed, over the last few weeks, the following people have been released from the company. Joey Ryan.
Check.
Taylor Hendricks. Madison Rain.
Yep.
Matt Morgan. Tara. Doc, Luke Gallows.
Yep.
D'Lo Brown, who was an agent. And Mike Weber, the marketing vice president.
Okay, so I got 1, 2.
All these releases were said to have been done as cost-cutting measures. In light of these cuts, they announced on June 27th that they were adding John Big Gaburick
From Tough
to the
Enough.
TV production team. In his new role, he will oversee management and production of TNA Entertainment Television, including Impact, marketing, advertising, production, special projects, and digital assets. That's a lot for one man to manage. Now, ProWrestling.net reports that TNA executive Bruce Pritchard is expected to be out of TNA as part of his current round of talent and office restructuring. Pritchard was among the staff asked to restructure their deal with TNA, but he rejected the request and is expected to be soon gone from the company. The interesting thing about all these cuts are that they simply will not move the needle as far as cutting costs as much as 1 or 2 big name releases would have done. David? Here's the cold, hard reality of TNA Impact Wrestling right now. They have names such as Hulk Hogan, Jeff Hardy, Rampage Jackson, and Sting, who are being paid very hefty salaries. There's no evidence, though, that any of these guys are actually generating significant revenue for the company. TNA is lucky to draw 2,000 paid attendees to their TV tapings and frequently draw fewer than 1,000 paid attendees to their house shows. Perhaps. No, not perhaps. The fact is, they're not drawing on the road because these stars, with the exception of Jeff Hardy, aren't on the house shows. To have these big names on the roster and still not have improved in TV ratings or attendance is a failure for the company. There has been no return on the investment. It's bad business. So now, instead of releasing 1 or more of these high-profile talents, they are forcing pay cuts on the people behind the scenes who make the company work. It's bad business. You've heard us say many times before that WWE is a machine, David. It's because they have a solid infrastructure and staff. They market, they promote, they treat their talent well, they pay their talents well. They just simply execute. No one can expect TNA to perform as well as WWE, but the way the company is being run right now leads me to believe that instead of a business, it's a hobby. A hobby
it's a vanity
that
project.
Is failing from a business standpoint. Now, I recently praised TNA on their Impact Wrestling broadcast on Spike TV. They deserve that praise. The people who they are releasing deserves that praise. The talents who risk their life every night deserves that praise. However, until they start doing good business, they are moments away from failure, in my opinion.
Wow, you're hot about that.
It's frustrating, David Hero.
It is very frustrating, especially when, and it's been reported, and it can now be verified. TNA Impact Wrestling has offered new contracts to talent. Talent has agreed only to have those contracts either change the next day or the talent instead being released.
That's what happened with Taylor Hendricks. She admitted it in a recent
It
interview.
happened with D'Lo Brown. It's bad. TNA is bad business. And when the guys at the top, when the agents and the executives, when that trust is broken, it trickles down to the talent. Hey, TNA, you want to save some money? Let Sting go. Free up
Done.
$500,000 to $750,000 a year.
Let him go to
Let him
Mania.
go cash in his big last payday against the Taker, because let's face it, Sting doesn't want to have his last match in Impact Wrestling. Hulk Hogan, he's the brand of TNA. He can go wherever he wants. And who knows, maybe Spike TV's paying that salary and not Impact Wrestling. But TNA Wrestling, going forward right now, has a bad taste in many people's mouths. It's bad business. The trust with executives and agents and talent is gone. You know what's funny? They bring in Rampage Jackson and release, what, 8, 9 people?
Yeah.
Maybe Rampage wasn't a good idea. But let's face it, some people that have been released, there's a lot of people on that roster that could be released that have been there for a long time that haven't done anything.
The key in any business is growth. Where's the growth in TNA Impact Wrestling? They're on the road now. Great idea.
There's been no growth.
Whose fault is that?
Dixie Carter's. It starts at the top. I'll say it. It's Dixie's fault. When I see more commercials for her action figure in a 2-hour show, why? You only see follow Dixie. You really don't see follow AJ Styles. You really don't see follow Samoa Joe. It's Dixie, Dixie, Dixie. I said it.
I will say this. There's only one problem in that company, and it has not yet been addressed.
But it's wearing a dress.
We're going to continue this in an online exclusive extra, talking more about TNA, since you just opened the can of worms.
No, I'm just being honest.
I appreciate your honesty, and it's worth discussing more. That can be found online on our YouTube channel. We'll continue the discussion about TNA Wrestling for that one.
This one.
This is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in.